Southern Europe is burning, and this is the deadliest wildfire crisis the region has seen in decades. Across Greece, Spain, Portugal, and Albania, towering walls of flames are devouring everything in their path, killing multiple people, forcing thousands from their homes, and creating scenes of absolute chaos that look like something out of an apocalyptic movie. We're not just talking about scattered brush fires here. We're talking about a coordinated assault by nature itself. Hundreds of individual blazes erupting simultaneously across multiple countries, stoked by record-breaking heat exceeding 44 degrees Celsius, and hurricane-force winds that have turned the Mediterranean into a tinderbox ready to explode.
Speaking with Spain, an employee at an equestrian center in Tres Cantos near Madrid died while reportedly trying to save animals from the flames. Another firefighter was killed in Castile and Leon. In Montenegro, a soldier was killed and another is seriously injured when their water truck overturned while battling a blaze north of the capital, Podgorica. In southern Spain, nearly 2,000 people were evacuated near the coastal town of Tarifa. Officials say they saved a residential area at the very last second. In Castile and Leon, multiple fires are threatening the ancient Roman gold mines at Las Medullas, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Regional leaders have vowed to restore it once the fires are out. In neighboring Portugal,
The numbers paint a shocking picture. In Greece alone, 82 new fires erupted in a single day, a number so exceptionally high that even veteran firefighters are calling it unprecedented. More than 150 fires are currently burning across the country, with flames so intense they're visible from space. The situation has become so dire that Greece has deployed a record 18,000 firefighters this year, more than ever before in the nation's history. But even with this massive mobilization, they're losing ground against the advancing flames. The port city of Patras, Greece's third largest city, is under siege. Two massive fires are bearing down on the urban center, forcing the evacuation of over 7,700 residents. Picture this: families grabbing whatever they can carry, jumping into cars with flames literally chasing them down the highway. Children crying, elderly people being carried to safety, and behind them, a wall of fire that's consuming everything they've ever known.
No fire trucks came. The house was left to God's mercy. It burned down just like that. Nothing, no one, no help at all. None. Here, everything was leveled, everything. There's nothing left. Everything burned, all of it. Nothing remains.
In central Spain's San Bartolome, over 100 members of Spain's military emergency unit have joined firefighters in the region to battle a fire that has charred over 650 hectares of land. Dozens have been evacuated while the blaze remains under control. Residents.
But here's what makes this crisis even more disturbing. Many of these fires aren't natural disasters. They're acts of arson. Greek police have arrested 3 suspects for deliberately igniting wildfires near Patras. Think about that for a moment. While firefighters are risking their lives to save communities, there are people out there intentionally starting new fires. It's a level of evil that's almost incomprehensible.
Extreme heat is continuing to fuel wildfires across the south and west of Europe. Thousands of people have been forced from their homes as temperatures have risen above 40 degrees Celsius. Red heat alerts have been issued in parts of Greece, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal and the Balkans, carrying a warning of significant risk to health. In Portugal, firefighters have been battling 3 large wildfires, with the most serious near Troncoso in the centre of the country. More than 1,300 firefighters and 14 aircraft were deployed, with Morocco sending 2 planes after Portuguese water bombers broke down. Authorities warn southern regions could hit 44 degrees Celsius, with the temperature not expected to dip below 25. Our correspondent Guy Hedgecoe is in Madrid and he gave us the latest on the situation in Spain.
The human cost is already devastating and continues to mount. In Spain, 3 people have died this week alone, including volunteer firefighters who made the ultimate sacrifice trying to save others. The latest victim was 37-year-old Jaime Aparicio, a volunteer firefighter who suffered burns to 85% of his body after being trapped alongside another volunteer while they were creating fire breaks. An employee at an equestrian center near Madrid died trying to save the animals in his care. These are heroes who ran toward danger while others ran away, and they paid with their lives.
This Turkish woman lost her farm animals. She's inspecting the damage to her property after firefighters contained a major wildfire in northwestern Turkey.
The fire that was over there came here. When it arrived, we rushed to herd the sheep and goats. It turns out the goats escaped into the fire. Where are the goats? They're nowhere to be seen. I'm getting angry. I need to find them. If I burn, I burn. My property is gone.
Spain is experiencing its 11th consecutive day of a brutal heat wave, with temperatures soaring as high as 44 degrees Celsius. That's 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine trying to fight fires in that kind of heat. It's like working inside an oven while the ground beneath your feet burns. The country has 11 large fires threatening built-up areas, forcing authorities to evacuate over 9,000 residents and shut down roads and rail services. Ancient UNESCO World Heritage Sites are under threat, centuries of history at risk of being reduced to ash in mere hours. Entire communities are being displaced, with evacuation centers filled to capacity.
It's not that climate change is igniting fires. Climate change is just making the environment ready, very burnable. And not only in the Mediterranean. I mean, we see now fires occurring in places that have historically never seen or never had a big fire problem. So we know that under the right weather conditions, we will have wildfires. It's not like a maybe. So it's not a question if there will be a fire. The only question is when and how. So, and what I find remarkable is we know this, and yet in most cases we just sit and wait for disaster to happen.
Some people are forced to sleep outdoors on folding beds, the smoke from distant fires still visible on the horizon. Families who evacuated with nothing but the clothes on their backs wait anxiously for news about whether their homes still stand. The scale of destruction defies comprehension. The Iberian Peninsula alone accounts for about half of the European Union's burned area of 500,000 hectares so far this year. To put that in perspective, that's an area larger than the entire country of Luxembourg, gone, wiped off the map, turned to ash and smoke. In Portugal, nearly 1,000 firefighters are battling a blaze near the scenic mountain village of Piodão. They've managed to bring under control a wildfire that burned for 11 days, the longest for this season in the mountainous area of Vila Real. 11 days of continuous burning. Imagine the exhaustion of those firefighters working around the clock for nearly 2 weeks straight, catching brief moments of rest before heading back into the inferno. Albania is also under attack from multiple fronts. Soldiers, firefighters, and volunteers, supported by helicopters and Italian firefighting aircraft, are battling blazes in the Sopot area. The fires have been raging for days, damaging dozens of homes and charring agricultural land that families have depended on for generations. An 80-year-old man died from smoke inhalation after lighting a small fire in his yard that spiraled completely out of control and spread to nearby villages, a tragic reminder of how quickly these situations can turn deadly. But what's truly terrifying is that this isn't just a freak occurrence, it's becoming the new normal. Scientists are warning that climate change is making these extreme weather events more frequent and more destructive. Hot and dry summers have always been common in the Mediterranean region, but wildfires fanned by intense heat and winds are now becoming more destructive and tougher to control than anything we've seen before. The European Union has had to send reinforcements to help Greece and Spain tackle these blazes. We're talking about an international emergency response, countries pooling their resources because the fires are too big for any single nation to handle alone. Greece has requested 4 firefighting planes through the European Civil Protection Mechanism. The United Arab Emirates has deployed a specialized firefighting team to support local crews. Morocco has sent aircraft to assist Portugal. This is global cooperation in the face of a climate catastrophe. The human stories coming out of this crisis are both inspiring and heartbreaking. In Greece, residents are joining firefighters in the battle, beating back flames with cut branches or dousing them with buckets of water. Picture ordinary people, shopkeepers, teachers, grandparents, standing side by side with professional firefighters, fighting for their communities.
Firefighters in southern Albania continue to battle wildfires. Here are the devastating visuals coming in from Albania, where fires have engulfed entire swathes of forests in the country. The situation is even more severe in Montenegro, where several families have been evacuated and a couple of homes destroyed. A Montenegrin soldier has died and another was seriously injured when their water tanker overturned while fighting wildfires in the hills north of the capital. Emergency crew are battling multiple wildfires across Spain and Portugal, where deadly fires have ravaged world heritage and Roman-era sites. The municipality of Tres Cantos, located 20 kilometers away from Madrid, is completely devastated. Thousands have been forced to evacuate from the area. Residents of Turkey's Kanakkale counted losses of homes and other belongings burnt in a wildfire that ripped through the forests near the city. Drone video showed houses in a residential area with burned and blackened facades, broken windows and collapsed roofs. Experts have rung their alarm bell, saying heat waves will be 10 times more frequent by the end of this century.
France is preparing for a 4-degree rise in temperatures by 2100. That's not necessarily the exact climate trajectory forecast today, but it's what we must be ready for in order to limit the impacts.
In Kosovo, the situation has become so desperate that villagers are fighting fires themselves with whatever tools they can find. When fire trucks arrived but had no water or proper equipment, residents continued battling the flames with buckets and garden hoses, refusing to abandon their homes to the advancing fire. On the island of Chios, the Coast Guard had to pick up dozens of people at the small harbor of Limnia because the smoke was so intense they couldn't breathe. The economic impact is staggering. Farms destroyed, homes reduced to ash, businesses wiped out, tourist areas evacuated. In Spain's popular beach town of Tarifa, around 2,000 people, including tourists, had to be evacuated as wildfires blazed in view of the beaches. Imagine planning your dream vacation only to find yourself fleeing for your life. What makes this situation even more dangerous is the weather forecast. There's no relief in sight. Temperatures in parts of Spain are expected to remain above 110 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the week. The Spanish Weather Agency has warned that the danger is extraordinary. France has placed the southern half of the country under high vigilance alert for heat waves, experiencing its second major heat event in just weeks. Italy has issued red heat alerts for 16 cities, including Rome, Milan, and Florence. The firefighting resources are stretched beyond their absolute limits. Nearly 5,000 firefighters assisted by 33 aircraft have been deployed in Greece alone. In Spain, nearly 1,000 firefighters are spread across the country, with military troops joining the battle. These are massive mobilizations, but they're barely keeping pace with the fires. At least 15 firefighters have been hospitalized or received medical attention for burns, smoke inhalation, or exhaustion in Greece. 13 more firefighters have been treated for burns and other injuries across the region. Here's what's particularly alarming about this crisis. It's happening earlier and more intensely than ever before. Europe is on track for its worst wildfire season on record. Nearly 2.4 million acres have been consumed by fires to date, more than double the average amount of land that would normally be burned by early August. EU climate monitors report that smoke and greenhouse gas emissions are among the highest ever recorded for this time of year. This puts 2025 on pace to be the most expansive European wildfire season in recorded history.
Third largest city. Raging flames in western Greece prompted the evacuation of at least 25 settlements as fires persisted throughout the country. People watched in despair and anger as inferno swallowed their livelihoods.
What does it look like? It looks like doomsday. We came from Athens with our volunteer association, Cleisthenes. We can't do anything more. May God help us and help the people here.
Water planes and helicopters joined forces as mass evacuations remain underway across Greece. Blazes are continuing to destroy homes.
Anymore. They're explaining that wildfires are now occurring in regions that historically never experienced them. Under the right weather conditions, these disasters aren't a matter of if, but when. And most alarmingly, despite all this knowledge, most communities are simply waiting for disaster to strike rather than taking preventive action. The international response reveals just how serious the situation has become. Athens has sent assistance to neighboring Albania. Italy has deployed Canadair firefighting aircraft to multiple countries. Turkey, while battling its own fires that have been raging since late June, is coordinating with European neighbors. The European Union's Forest Fire Information System is tracking blazes across the continent, with extreme to very extreme fire weather conditions predicted across large swaths of Europe. What we're witnessing is not just a natural disaster, it's a preview of our climate future. These aren't isolated incidents. They're part of a pattern of increasingly extreme weather events that scientists have been warning about for years. The Mediterranean region is becoming a powder keg where just a single spark can trigger catastrophic fires that spread faster than anyone can control them. The psychological toll on communities is immense. Families who have lived in the same villages for generations are watching their entire way of life go up in smoke. Children are being evacuated from schools, elderly people are being moved from care facilities, and entire communities are being scattered to the winds. One Greek resident described the scene as doomsday, watching everything they've worked for their entire lives disappear in flames. The trauma of seeing your home, your neighborhood, your entire world consumed by flames. That's something that will haunt these communities for years to come. The stories are heartbreaking. A Turkish woman who lost all her goats when they escaped into the fire, farmers watching crops they've tended for decades turn to ash in minutes. Families returning to find nothing but the charred foundations where their homes once stood. As we speak, the situation continues to evolve rapidly. New fires are starting faster than old ones can be contained. Evacuation orders are being issued for new areas every few hours. The death toll could rise as rescue workers reach more remote areas. This is a developing catastrophe that's far from over. The message from this crisis is crystal clear. Climate change isn't some distant threat we'll deal with tomorrow. It's here, it's now, and it's killing people. The Mediterranean is burning, and unless we take dramatic action to address the root causes of climate change, scenes like these will become increasingly common across the globe. France is already preparing for a 4-degree rise in temperatures by 2100, with heat waves expected to be 10 times more frequent by the end of the century. For the families fleeing their homes, for the firefighters risking their lives, for the communities watching their world burn, this isn't about politics or policy debates. This is about survival. This is about a planet that's becoming increasingly hostile to human life. And this is just the beginning. The courage of the firefighters, volunteers, and ordinary citizens who are standing up to these flames is remarkable. But individual heroism can only do so much against the forces we've unleashed. The real question is, will we learn from this catastrophe, or will we simply watch as more and more of our world burns? Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, what's happening in Southern Europe today could be coming to your region tomorrow. Climate change doesn't respect borders, and these extreme weather events are spreading. The time for action isn't someday in the future. It's right now, before more lives are lost and more communities are destroyed by the flames of our changing climate.